By legalizing marijuana, we can reduce the financial burdens on society as well as the violence associated with distribution. Tonight, I'll present the budget constraints and concerns, revenue generating benefits, and violence issues, as well as eliminating access to marijuana by minors. And hopefully by the end of my speech, you'll consider how legalizing marijuana can benefit our society and our legal system. First, I want to talk about the war on drugs. Basically, $15.53 billion goes towards the war on drugs, and 2/3 of that goes towards distribution, or what they call supply issues. And that doesn't include any legal costs, any costs associated with police or people being arrested going through the legal system. And in 2009, like I said, $15.5 billion went to the war on drugs. And that source was a CNBC broadcast on the legalization, on how legalization would reduce and free up police resources. And it seems that by allocating 2/3 of $15.5 billion, we're just kind of throwing money at a source that has been unsuccessful. And that information was provided by Jeffrey Marion, the budgeting implication of drug prohibition. And in 2009, approximately 850,000 people were arrested for marijuana, and about 763,000 of those people were charged with possession only. And that information was provided by Norm Stamper, Breaking Rank, a top Cox expose of the dark side of American policing. And I think, legalizing marijuana will eliminate the strain we have on law enforcement in our legal system, thereby allowing all our resources to go towards violent criminals and violent crime. I want to talk about the revenue generating sources. Marijuana is one of the greatest revenue producers in the United States of agriculture, and it's valued at about $36 billion annually, and that was provided by a CNBC broadcast that legalization will reduce and free up police resources. And by regulating marijuana and distribution, we can tax the sales and generate revenue and eliminate dependence on foreign-grown marijuana. So the government can basically regulate the markets and the product quality. And, as we all know, the deficit is pretty significant. And by cutting back on the war against drug budget and generating revenue, it'll greatly help our society. The other thing I want to talk about is violence and organized crime. It's similar to Prohibition in the 1920s. It was not successful, and it led to a lot of organized crime and corruption and something called speakeasies, which you sure have heard about, where establishments would distribute alcohol at the speakeasies. And we found out that ending prohibition, resolved a lot of these issues related to distribution and organized crime around alcohol. And that information was provided by CNBC. Legalization will reduce free off-police resources. And I think when we attempt to legalize marijuana, we'll reduce or eliminate the organized crimes associated with that. And as we probably all heard on the news, there's so many issues with the border towns in Mexico, and it's spilling over to the United States. I mean, it's on the news almost every week. And these current efforts to tackle these border issues has just been unsuccessful. And again, we're just throwing money away. And that information was provided by Jacqueline Marin, budgetary implication of drug prohibition. Now I'm going to show you a YouTube video.
Hey, tossed into this club near McAllen, Texas just a few weeks ago didn't go off, but federal agents who investigated matched the weapon to other grenades used in violent attacks in Mexico.
Their purpose is to come to the United States and take over. And the way they take over is very violent. We're seeing signs of people being tortured and brutally beaten all across the United States, not just along the southwest border.
In an affluent suburb of Birmingham, Alabama last August, 5 people were tortured and murdered inside this apartment in a dispute over missing drug money.
What's new about it is it's at a level that we've never seen before.
And I also wanted to discuss the age issues. By establishing a smoking age, much like a tobacco usage age or alcohol, we can kind of deal with the minor issues with access to drugs similar to alcohol. We can focus our efforts on education in schools and prevention, and establish treatment plans for minors with abuse problems. I think the first step finally is, in my conclusion, the first step is realizing that legalizing marijuana has many benefits. It will address the $15.5 billion budget, or like money we're just throwing at the source, and the ineffective policies. And we can generate some income for the federal and state governments, and we can reduce organized crime, and we can establish a legitimate income for growers and sellers, and regulate everything such as we do with alcohol. I think it's a win-win. Thank you.